Activists take part in a march rally near the U.S. Capitol in support of statehood for Washington, D.C. 1 month later, the House of Representatives passed a Bill 216-208 that would make D.C. the nation's 51st state. Mandel Ngan, AFP via Getty ImagesHide captionToggle caption Mandel Ngan, AFP via Getty ImagesActivists take part in a march rally near the U.S. Capitol in support of statehood for Washington, D.C. 1 month later, the House of Representatives passed a Bill 216-208 that would make D.C. the nation's 51st state. Mandel Ngan, AFP via Getty Images. The U.S. House of Representatives has once again voted on a bill to grant statehood to Washington, D.C., and enfranchise more than 712,000 Americans, a cause that enjoys unprecedented support but still faces an uphill battle in the U.S. Senate. This country was founded on the principles of no taxation without representation and consent of the governed. But D.C. residents are taxed without representation and cannot consent to the laws under which they as American citizens must live, said Del. Eleanor Holmes Norton, the district's non-voting delegate, on the House floor ahead of the vote. Her statehood bill, H.R. 51, would reduce the size of the federal district and create a new state with the remaining territory with 2 U.S. senators and a representative, placing residents on equal footing with voters in other states. Statehood advocates contend the cause is also a fight for racial justice. If admitted, Washington, D.C., would be the first state with a plurality of black residents. In Ward 6 at Maine Ave SW in front of the Wharf, WAMU Ward, left, WAMU's Senior District of Columbia 2011, and Joyce Robinson-Paul show their support for D.C. statehood. Tyrone Turner, WAMUhide captionToggle captionTyrone Turner, WAMUIn Ward 6 at Maine Ave SW in front of the Wharf, WAMU Ward, left, WAMU's Senior District of Columbia 2011, and Joyce Robinson-Paul show their support for D.C. statehood. Tyrone Turner, WAMU, the folks who live in the beacon of democracy that is the nation's capital don't have a voice, says Ravi Perry, chair of the Political Science Department at Howard University and board member of DC Vote, a statehood advocacy organization. House Democrats passed Norton's bill last year in a historic vote, but the legislation never reached the GOP-led Senate. Now, with Democrats controlling the White House and the Senate, the effort to make DC the 51st star on the nation's flag has more support than ever before, even though it is unclear whether the measure has the backing of all 50 Democratic senators, let alone 60 votes in all, for it to pass in the Senate. It passed the House on Thursday 216-208 along party lines. Ahead of the vote, Republican lawmakers linked D.C. statehood with a laundry list of progressive policies. This is not about a balance of power, this is about more power, said Representative Nancy Mace, R.S. C.